Hey there guys, today I'll be setting up my Bantam GTO CK just like Christian Alshon does. He uses the original Bantam shape, but we have the new one here, and so we'll be testing out his setup on this paddle. So the grip on this I've already changed out because I wanted to test it out pretty much stock. I did play with it a few times with the original handle, which is fine. It's just that my hand's pretty big and I have tennis elbow every so often, so I do like it when it's a larger grip size. Anyway, Christian Alshon sets up his paddle with 2 strips of 1/4 gram per inch strips going all the way up to near the curve of the paddle right here to the bottom curve of this paddle. And so it's quite a lot of lead tape. And it ends up being 8.5 ounces for him. Today we have this 1 gram per inch tungsten tape. So we'll be using this tungsten tape to set up the paddle. And yeah, just in case you didn't see, he sets it up from this bottom right here all the way to this near curve here. And hopefully we end up with the 8.5 ounces he does. So I'll be cutting this tungsten tape in half so that it can match that 1/2 gram per inch going up the paddle. So scaled out right now, I think this paddle is 8.1 ounces. Christian Alshon ends up with 8.5 ounces after he completes his setup. So we'll test what this half strip will do once I add it. Wow, it's a lot of lead tape. Yeah, it's quite interesting that he uses so much, I would think. Things to note about this paddle as I'm setting it up right here is that it does feel quite head heavy already. So I'm quite surprised at how much weight Christian adds to the paddle. It is pretty heavy, but 8.5 ounces isn't anything crazy. So we'll see how that affects the performance of the paddle. I actually had a lot of fun playing with this paddle. It was definitely a surprise for me. I did not know that, I think this is Gen 1 or Gen 2 paddle, would be so fun to hit with. It honestly is a lot better than I would have thunk. And I can see why so many people like to play with Paddletek. Okay. So, the first strip is in. And so, this way you can get a better sense of where the lead tape goes. It goes all the way from the bottom to near this curve right here. So, let's do a quick check on weight. It's kind of getting a little heavier than I thought. Would have thunk. I think it will be slightly higher than his end weight, 8.5, which is not good. It's 8.3 right now, so we could get lucky and be right at that 8.5. And there we go. We ended up with 8.5 as well. Let's take a quick peek so you can see. It ends up being 8.5 ounces. And that setup, I think, looks pretty good on this paddle. As you can see, the sweet spot is right around this P area on this paddle. Although they have some useful dead spots on this paddle that I would not have expected to be so useful. Really gives you the opportunity to slow down the ball, kind of be sneaky. Yeah, this paddle is really fun, so let's go try it out.
So I just finished 2 sessions with modifications for Christian Alshon's setup of the Paddletek GTO C. And honestly, I think this has been a great modification. Ground strokes felt a lot more powerful. Things were springing off the paddle much quicker. And I felt like my drives felt very powerful. Because this is not thermoformed with foam or anything for this paddle, I think this paddle does really improve a lot with the weight. And because of how predictable the power curve for this paddle is, it's just natural. It feels like the more weight you add, the more power you get. And it actually becomes a lot more stable by adding the weight. It wasn't unstable to begin with. I felt like it was completely fine without weight too, but the added weight does give you just a little bit more punch and power. I can definitely tell why this is a great singles or double setup, and it's actually very fun to play with. You could hit crazy serves, and honestly, it performed very well. Even the non-sweet spots hits outside of the sweet spot area were much more stable with the weight added on, and it felt like it was easier to be more deceptive with those hits. So you could kind of hold your speed ups a little longer and kind of aim at where the empty spots were once they presented themselves with a little bit more time, because you could kind of hold it down and depend on those dead spots for more spin, or kind of to speed it up without hitting it too hard so that it stayed in. There was plenty of spin that you could get through this paddle, so you were definitely gonna make most of your speed ups in. Of course, because of this added weight, there was sometimes the ball was getting pushed out just a little further than I was expecting, but that could just be me being not used to how much weight this was. Now, at first I was kind of worried that this much weight would feel really weird on this paddle, but honestly, I think it felt fine 99% of the time. The only times that I felt like it was too heavy was when I was doing those speed ups and the balls looked like they were floating out. Other than that, I think this is definitely a setup you guys should check out. Super easy to do. Overgrip, a lot of lead tape up the sides, and if you want to copy Christian Alshon completely, Christian Alshon also uses red electrical tape to cover on the outside. So here, once again, I used a U-drip in overgrip, and I ended up using tungsten tape instead of lead, just because it's a little safer to touch and causes less cancer. So it does pretty much the same thing. It ended up weighing exactly what Christian Alshon's weighs at 8.5 ounces. And I can definitely see why he sets up his paddle this way. He's definitely a very aggressive player. He likes to play at the net, and he is a great player indeed. So give it a try. I'll link down below all of the things I use to set this up. If you want to check out this Paddletek Bantam or any other Paddletek Bantam line paddles, be sure to fill out the form down in our description. Whenever there is a promotion for this paddle or any of the Paddletek paddles, I will let you know, and I'll try to get you a discount whenever it does come up. I honestly love playing with this paddle. I've been playing with a lot of foam paddles, and sometimes the feedback on those foam paddles are just so hard to get. But this Gen 1 paddle was definitely a breath of fresh air, and it performed way better than I thought. So be sure to keep an eye out on the full 10-hour review of this paddle, because it's definitely going to be a good one. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe if you like this content. Peace.